everyone. I'm Dr. Olena Berezovska, and I'm welcoming a new guest, a wonderful guest. As you know, I always have wonderful guests, and we discuss a very interesting topic. So I have a special guest, Dr. Marilyn Gansel, and she's a positive performance life coach and woman on fire. Woman on fire, I want to sing when I hear woman on fire, because I'm a woman myself. So applied sports psychologist, life and health coach, and she wrote her books, a couple of books as I understand. And we choose very interesting topic, but first, I would like to welcome Marilyn. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you. And
nice to see you.
Yeah, and I would like to tell everyone that I'm going through the cold recovery from cold, so my voice is not good. So excuse if I cough or if my voice is not very, very loud, but we have a guest who's gonna talk loud. And yes, Marilyn, and I really would like you to tell more about your books and what they're all about, and then we'll talk about topics we choose to discuss.
All right, Olena. Well, I want to start off first by talking a little bit about my background because that has influenced my writing. I started out as a teacher and I taught English, speech, and drama. And then I went on and I got a master's degree in education, and then went on and got a master's degree in library science, where I worked with K through 12 students in all kinds of areas like libraries, media. I did video production for the school district and cable television. I wasn't a very well person in terms of my own health, and I had a lot of challenges ahead of me in life. And I decided to take a different route. I left education and I decided to focus on me getting better, getting well, physically and mentally, spiritual perhaps too. And I got my personal training certification, which opened up a whole new world for me. I found that I became stronger and more empowered as a woman. And I was able to believe in myself. I was able to change my thoughts. Later on in life, I opened up some studios in fitness. And I worked with so many different wonderful people with all kinds of challenges. And I began to learn about stories, people's stories, which I found fascinating. And then I was given the opportunity to go for my PsyD in applied sports psychology. Wow, did that change my life completely? Because I began to look at athletes, began to say, what keeps them going? You know, they get injured, they have moments when they feel that they're inferior, that they're not going to win at the game. What keeps them going? And I began to start looking at different stories about athletes. And then later, I got the opportunity to have my own internet radio show.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was called What's Holding You Back, What's Weighing You Down, that kind of thing. And I interviewed people from all over the world, just like you are. And their stories captivated me. I began to relate to them. My first book is Pain, Purpose, Passion. And it's about 22 stories of people who have overcome all kinds of horrible things that happened to them. And they use that pain to somehow gather purpose and then to pull it into a passionate way of living and giving back to people, which I thought was wonderful. So I have lots of stories about these incredible people. Later on, I collaborated on another book. That's my most recent book with a man who is a psychiatrist in New York. And we looked at sports. He's very interested in sports. I was also interested in how athletes, you know, achieve great feats in light of obstacles. And we decided that we were going to write a book where we interviewed and then talked a little bit about psychology involving sports and how people use sport to overcome an obstacle. So my Saved by Sport book with Dr. Scheinberg is an amazing book on all kinds of people. For example, just one person I might want to mention was electrocuted 13,900 volts.
Wow.
And didn't want to live. And his story is amazing. It shows the will, the power of transformation. I then wrote another little book, Mac and Cheese. They're mini morsels for positive performance. It's probably more for young people, and it can be read any way you want. It's just on different things like compassion and grief and mercy, those kinds of things that we all need in our lives. When we think about giving, there's things about giving in here and gratitude. So from all of these books, all of these wonderful people, I have learned so much about living and about gratitude and about passion and purpose. And that's why I'm a woman on fire, because I want to give this back to other people as well.
It's wonderful. And honestly speaking, now you given to people your knowledge, so people learning from you. And I think it's amazing transformation when we can share our knowledge with other people and our experience and our personal stories. It's a good sample of our survival and our kind of positive attitude and our strengths. And people can compare with their life and sometimes take something from our stories. And I think it's good that we have influence on people in a good way, because usually we teach something like good. We don't teach be bad, live in like in hatred, be angry, right? So we,
Yes.
we try to give people something positive, something good. And yes, and whenever you were mentioning, whenever you were telling like how you were transforming, I was thinking of my transformation, and a lot of like words you said, it's also in like in a tune with my life and how I changed my own life, and then start helping to change life of other people. And that's why we have this podcast, because we try to share our experience and our knowledge. And you mentioned in our correspondence about topics, the word resilience, right? And I think it's very important right now at the moment, because as you said, people wondering why some people survive easily, or how they overcome dramatic, even tragic moments of their life. Even if I look back at the past, in the past of my parents, let's say, and my grandparents, they lost a lot of lives in the war and under different circumstances. Even my mom lost her child, which is like because of some infectious disease. At that time, we didn't have a vaccination, right? So, and I tried to understand how she could overstep, how she could live with that pain. Sorry. And yeah, and my mother also lost her father and her brother and her sister during the war. And I'm just like, and I'm not talking about even other relatives as well. And that's always like brings me back to thinking how they could stay positive in spite of this tragic moments in their life. And that's why we bring in quite a lot the word resilience, right? And I would like you to tell more about, to tell your opinion about resilience, because I know people have different definition and different view, even if the same translation of this word into different languages, but still, everybody puts something like meaningful and this resilience meaning.
Wait, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about resilience, because it's part of who I am, and it's, of course, what you are, who you are. I think of resilience as being able to move forward, keep going to the next block or the next ladder up that rung. How do you do it? How do you take the first step? I mean, everyone's frightened.
Yeah.
Everyone's fearful. And we're not alone in that. We all have the same emotions. But what do we do to move on? How can we learn from this experience that maybe is not so positive, is more negative, is like you never thought it would happen to you? Because that's the way I think. When I think of things that have happened to me, I say, oh my God, I never thought. I thought if I could be that good little person all the time, the goody two shoes, everything would be perfect. Everything would be right. And I'm a woman who had been driven to perfection. I wrote about that. You can't be. No one is perfect. But what can we learn from these experiences? Where do they bring us? We can certainly sit back and say, oh, poor me. Oh, life is really hard. It's crappy and it's miserable. Yes. We can just allow it. We can allow that little gremlin on our shoulders to say, you're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're nothing. You'll never make it. You'll never be. I don't know if anyone's told you that. I even had a husband who told me that. You can't do it on your own. You won't make it. But boy, if you get that fighting spirit inside you and you say, what can I learn from that? Am I supposed to break out of this shell and show who I really am and discover me, discover my strengths, discover my talents? It just blows my mind when I think of what we have inside us that we don't draw on. So all of these books that I've written, I hope, inspire people to be more resilient by getting up in the morning and saying, thank you. Thank you for the little things. It doesn't have to be big. I think of what I lost, and I'm sure what you have lost, and you say, you could have said, why me, God? Why me? But maybe I'm learning something. Maybe I'm understanding how other people live, their experiences. Maybe in this way I can communicate with other people. We can share our stories. We can grow together. We can manage this life that we live, which isn't always very easy.
Yeah. I like your words. And a couple years ago, I went through drama of my life when I became, I don't like the word victim, but let's say the object or subject. I became the person who went through avalanche of betrayal and destroying of a lot of good things in my life because of simple human jealousy and simple human hatred.
Mm-hmm.
I was successful and I didn't expect this betrayal from closest people. And it was like avalanche. It's like somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they gathered together and then start, sometimes it's happened because now when I talk to some friends, how it could happen? It's just like avalanche came on.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't easy. I was asking 100 times, 1,000 times, why it happened to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Why my closest people I trusted, they became betrayals and were gossiping behind my back and ruined my life. But that's what happened, like resilience, right? I said, I have to overstep this. I have to kind of see future. I have to find something positive in my life. And I started looking for positive. Thanks God I had friends, I had family members who supported me. I wasn't alone completely, even if I thought I'm alone. Even if I had this kind of moments when I was thinking, this is the end. I don't know how to live. I don't understand how to live, how to trust people, how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a disaster in my mind and my feelings, but I survived and I started growing and building and growing, so because it's me. And that's why I was coming back to the past of my parents. I was thinking, if they survived 2 wars, if they survived this, if they survived that, it must be in me something that would help me to go through all these obstacles. I'm still alive. I'm improving my health, even the health also went down because, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I was worried a lot. But what is interesting, I found that the people who were like my traitors, who became my traitors, start coming back to me. And of course, I got advices, don't forgive them because they betrayed you. And I forgave them. And I will forgive them. Like if some other will come. And people say, why? I said, I know these people like friends or good people. So I never forget good side of these people. And if they did it, I know because they were under the mood of like jealousy or hatred or whatever, or together, right? Envy, simple envy, human envy. And that's why I said I give them the chance. But I'll be careful, of course. But why should I see in people something bad? If they come into me back, it means they start understanding that I wasn't how they described me, because they want to be with me. They want to have me back in their life. And this is a
And
good
you want what you have, in other words, the peace that you have.
exactly.
The serenity that you have. And I was going to mention that too about forgiveness, because I've written about that, because I learned to forgive. And once I did, my life got better. Not all of a sudden, but it started to get better. I didn't hold on to stuff. We hold on, it destroys us.
True. Like negative emotions, negative feelings destroys our life because it's not our nature. We were not born to be angry or unhappy or always like sad. Because even if you look at the animals, you hardly see the animals in a very negative state. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive. They would be killed by other predators, or they will lose control and attention and everything. But animals are not like unhappy in most cases until we make them unhappy. But I mean, that's who we are by nature. We shouldn't be unhappy and angry and negative and and hurt other people just because we envy or because we like jealous because we didn't achieve what they achieved, let's say this way. Because usually envy is why people envy, because they look at other people, they say, this comes so easily. Look at this person. Oh, right. She's a star.
Right.
He's a businessman. He's a millionaire, right? So, and they
Yes.
start, oh, yeah, maybe he did something. Oh, well, I start digging, looking for something bad, because why this person went to another level comparing to those who gossip about us and try to kind of like put us down, suppress us to the lower level that they are. But you're right, and this is resilience, how we react. And I learned a lot as well, because before you never use even the word resilience. But I try to explain myself. If my parents survive, if my grandparents survive, so I should. And also, I went through a lot of difficult moments in my life. Where I came from Soviet Union, where I lived on this communist regime. People say, "Oh, it's kind of no, it's not nice. It was just disaster." And that's why I can compare. And I said, if I survived everything, I came here with no money, nothing. I became the person. I respect myself. I respect what I done, right? I am proud what I done. And I said that it means something in me. And then I found this word resilience. And and now we talk a lot about resilience. Because if you don't have an answer how to live, how to do, what to do, why it's happened to me, I found this kind of like, a little like not a little, but let's say not tip, but the short answer: resilience. Remember, resilience. Don't ask why, how. Just remember resilience. And I started kind of like working on that, and I said it's much more easy to give the short answer in one word than looking for answer in sentences and some kind of theories, how it's happened, what's going to happen, how we're going to forgive, how we do. No, just okay, resilience. And I'm glad that you brought this meaning of resilience in the topic we're going to discuss. And the next, actually, what we would like to discuss, it's about obstacles, because resilience and actually steps the obstacles. And obstacle that actually how to turn the obstacles in something positive.
Right.
Right. And because you're working with people who are involved in sport, and it's not just professional, but I assume like any type of sport activity, right? I know that many people, especially professional, they like to win. They like this taste of a win, to be the first one. And they have, I would say, high ego, high level of ego, or how you call it now. But also they have a lot of obstacles, and obstacles can come from simple factors like, for example, age. With age, we're not so strong physically, right? And
Right.
one day we have to step out and then say, I cannot be a champion anymore because my body is aching. I cannot complete the task, right? It's to be honest with yourself. But again, about obstacles, there are many obstacles, and how actually we can make the obstacles our friends and our enemies. So I would like you to tell about this because I know you have a lot of knowledge and experience on this topic of our conversation.
Well, you just talked about somebody who, is older and can't maybe do the sport that he loves, that he always, or
Yeah.
he was, or, I've had people in wheelchairs, who used to be able to run and do all sorts of things. Now they're in a walker, or they've had a debilitating injury and they can't do it anymore. So what do you choose to do? Do you choose to sit and wallow in it? Do you sit and say, oh, poor me, as we said before, and watch TV all day? Or do you do something about it? Do you use your strengths and talents to help somebody else? What do you do with it? Do you write something? What strength do you have? So I think a strengths assessment test is really important, that people find out, what do I have? What do I have to give? What do I love? And how can I give it back to other people? We've all, in all my books, I think of people who, one was a runner in New York City, and she was running and she was raped, and suffered tremendous pain, trauma. What did she do with it? What did she discover? You have to read the book. I mean, it's amazing how people sometimes use the worst thing that happened to them and make it something that is so positive and helpful and inspiring to other people. We all have something to give. We all have something. I've been through many obstacles myself, from little physical things to kind of like not having anything. But I also want to go back to the fact that you mentioned your grandparents and your parents, because I think what's missing today for our own kids is the sense of seeing their parents being resilient and their grandparents being resilient. My grandparents came from Italy with no money either. And I remember my grandmother telling me she was always cold. And my other grandmother said, after having 8 or 13 kids, there was no money to buy clothing. And to be resilient, guess what she did? She was creative. She started a garden for food, and she took potato sacks and she Cloroxed them or bleached them and made them into underwear for children. Everyone contributed around the house. Everyone had a sense of what they needed to do to go on each day. We don't all have the answers, but we can learn from our parents. And I think that's what's kind of missing. I had parents and grandparents who were extremely resilient and creative and decided, okay, if this path doesn't work, where else can I go? Because there are several paths we can take. Which one should we choose? And if it's a mistake, it's okay. It's really okay, and I wrote about that as well. Bring on those mistakes, but let me learn from them so I don't do that mistake again, so I don't go down that road. So
I usually, when people talk about mistakes, I change perception of mistakes like in life, because we usually don't know where we're gonna fall, where we're gonna hit something that hits us, right? And even we have expression, if I know where I'm gonna fall, then I put the pillow to soften the pain, right?
Make
and
it soft.
and it never happened. But I start thinking a lot that because we're going through life, it's like not newborns, but like toddler steps, so the little guy making first steps falls, right, and gets up and fall. And usually, even if you think it's a very, very flat surface, shouldn't be any problem to walk. But it's about coordination, about trust, about feeling the soil, right? So I mean, there's a lot of factors why children fall on a flat surface, right? But they don't complain. They get up and go and go and go. And I found me like children, me going through life, we're making steps. We hardly know what's like we probably think we can prognose what's ahead us, even if we have eyes and ears.
Right.
But when it comes to our psychological problem, because usually we fall psychologically, right, mentally, not physically, it's difficult because we cannot predict our future. We can plan, we can have fantasies, we can have ambitions, and we going in that direction. But again, there are so many obstacles could be in front, and I'll actually like there's another word limitation because limitation is different from obstacles. Obstacle you can overstep limitation. I was thinking, can we change limitation? Probably in some way we can change limitation if it's like if it's true limitation, but still it's the same like if you're born as a woman, can you be a man now? Yes, you can. By many ways you can become a man. Probably not by karyotyping, but not through the chromosomal numbers, but still you can express yourself as a man, right? And that's why I'm thinking like even limitation, not always like 100% limitation, depends how you perceive this. But about these obstacles and about the steps, I always tell everyone, forget about mistakes. Don't blame yourself for your mistakes. Even if you think you
Blame
repeat
others or blame others.
blame for others. Yeah.
Yeah, with blame and blame.
Yes, and it's true. I went as well through some blaming because I'm a late child and they didn't support me well. But at the same time, I had a lot of things that I thankful for them. And but there was a period when I was in very like this low state of low self-esteem, drama, disappointment in life. Of course, I was maybe they are guilty, maybe it's their fault because they didn't support me when I was like 15 or whatever. It's that kind of digging, right? Like you always try to dig. I stopped digging and I said, wait a second. They had a very difficult life. I have my own life. And it's not my mistake. I couldn't predict what happened to me just because I'm not a prophecy. And I don't live like 100% prophecy true. Right. That's why I was kind of I cannot predict. That's why I fell, but I have to get up and then make another step, another step. So when I start comparing mistake with the steps of toddlers, I realize it's not so painful. It's actually understandable. It's your life. And then be merciful to yourself. Stop, like, criticize yourself, punishing yourself and punishing others. Because it's life, life is continue, and be happy, life is continue. So next step, successful or not, who cares? At least you're moving ahead, like you're moving forward. And that's changed a lot in my perception of life and some negative moments and even obstacles. And sometimes you don't need to overstep obstacle, just like go them around, not just like this, just do not fall, right? There's so many ways that you can use to explain your next step in a way that it's not so painful or doesn't remind you about previous experience. So it's my opinion, and I'm growing as well. Like I mean, like all life you grow, you learn something, and that's yes. But back to obstacles and how to transform obstacles in the positive experience. I know you would like to say more. Sorry for interruption, but we have, I think, very interesting and practical conversation, giving people a lot of thoughts.
Yes. And I was going to say something else that you brought up, and I'm just losing it right now. Something about obstacles. You had mentioned something, and it was really good.
I was mentioned obstacle and limitation, and I was mentioned we can always step or go around.
Yes, and oh, I know what I was going to say. Looking at life as an adventure, because for me, I was thinking when I left home, I didn't really, all I did was pack my car up with my dog, and I didn't even know exactly where I was going. And I just put whatever I could into my car and left. And I was scared out of my mind. But I had to convince myself, I had to change my mindset to say, Marilyn, this is an adventure. This is a new beginning. You have a chance to start over. It's all out there for you. Whatever it is, you can do it. I know that I was scared many times and terrified of going places by myself, getting on trains, not having any friends at all, going to places I hadn't lived before. But I like the word adventure because I thought, let's go and try. Why not? Why not now? It's never too late. Start again and see what life offers you. And it has offered me tremendous experiences, even just for me personally, to grow. I read all of these books about growing and changing and being more conscious about things. And once I discovered that and I started writing, my world changed. And I'm able to help other people. So I think sometimes looking at it as an adventure, I mentioned having an attitude adjustment, gratitude with attitude, or attitude with gratitude, and changing your mindset, being a little more flexible instead of rigid and saying, I can't. Why not? Why can't you? Who's stopping you?
Yeah, it's the same like I'm saying to people, like I look at my life like a book that has different pages, different chapters. And if you like reading, if you like to write books or even reading the books, so you understand that the next page is coming and you don't know what's actually written on this page, right? So imagine that you're writing yourself, like you're writing these books, whatever's going on in your life, and then next page, probably even next chapter. But this is a beauty that if you look, like you said, the word adventure, at your life as adventure, and you're adventurous, then your life will be very interesting and very kind of like really beautiful, colorful, because you live page by page. And you know that something exciting going to happen anyway, not only dramatic events, but good events as well. Because if you look back, all your book is like built like that, all your life is like that. You go up and down, but this is the beauty that you can remember so many things, even complicated, that stop being complicated when you look in the past to laugh, or any kind of event that first were hurting you, and then you just looking, okay, it's actually was interesting. I learned something from that. So it's a book, and that's why I like to create my book. And when people say, so what's next? I say next page, or maybe next chapter. I mean, my life is continuing.
Exactly.
And then I don't know what's going to happen, but it's like you writing the stories, and then suddenly you're thinking, okay, I'm going to write another story, because especially like fiction, let's say, like Agatha Christie wrote so many interesting detective stories, because every time that she was coming to mind, create something else, right? And that's a point that sometimes you start to write one page, but then you start getting like in your mind that I would like that page, and I would like this story, and then it's coming maybe in a different way. But that's my point, that obstacles, it's not always like the obstacles they have to stop us reading our own book or writing our own book.
It doesn't have to stop us in our tracks. The obstacle is not going to prevent us from moving forward if we just take that first step, and it may be a small step, but that's okay. Small steps will bring you to your goal.
And sometimes we create our obstacles artificially, like there's no obstacles, but it seems to us there is a huge obstacle. And I learned this as well. Yeah.
In our mind, we've decided, I didn't hit that ball. I struck out. Now I'm going to strike out again and again and again and again. And so you have put that in your mind and you visualized it instead of visualizing the win and getting to the next step.
And when you said again, like I also changed the perception of persistent and stubborn, to be stubborn, like, because sometimes you hit the same wall with your head again, but maybe you should stop and don't see this like dramatic part. Maybe this you will make this so dramatic, this terrible pain going again. What if we just like look at this as a part of life? Okay, so I have to overstep somehow. If I didn't know, if I didn't want to hit myself, right, then I have to find a way, or maybe wait a little bit, and maybe I see a better picture. This will happen. So that's why the game to become a hero that went through such obstacles, sometimes it hurts even more.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because you get stuck in something and you don't
Yes,
know how to get unstuck. You think this is my pattern, but we can change that. We can change it through
exactly.
habits, behaviors, all kinds of things. We don't have to stay with it in whatever we have created. And many times we have created our own obstacle, as you
It's
said.
true. It's true. And that's important to understand that whatever is in our mind, then it comes in reality. That's why,
Yeah.
and not in a way we create it in our virtual world, in our mind, right? So that's we have to be ready and don't complicate our life even more, especially with creating with our own obstacles, because I know people like to, oh, it will, like Lou said, it will be very difficult. You never achieve this. Oh yeah, and this and that and that. Okay, just everybody be quiet. I'm working with my mind. I want to see myself. I want to like feel what I want. But
Mhm.
thank you very much for your concern. And also it should be like our concern as well. So if my mind working against me, it means it's me created this another person that works against my other person. Like, double identity inside. So we have also to kind of stop be outside of our body, outside of our mind, but see ourselves inside together. It's very important to be united with
And
your mind.
also, Olena, other people sometimes create or write your story for you, and you believe that story. You
Yeah,
believe that, and that keeps you stuck. You never can get out of that. So again, it's looking at who you really are. You know you better than anybody else. Look for your strengths, look for the values you have, look for the things that make you happy, and get unstuck. Try
I
something new.
I remember when I came to Canada, one of relatives said, because I came without money with two children and husband, but we had no money at all. And I remember I was told, it's enough for you to be some secretary or administrative worker in some kind of like, office. I said, why do you think it's enough for me? No. Oh, because you have no money. Come on, like, you came with nothing. I said, but step by step, I will achieve what I want to achieve. So don't tell me, maybe in different way, maybe I find something new, excited for me. And that's my point. Like I didn't know who I become, but at least I knew who I want to become. I,
Right.
I knew what I want to do. And I wasn't thinking about obstacles at the time. Money was an obstacle for me. It's my drive. It's how I feel, right? And
Mhm.
when somebody was like telling me, and sometimes they were meeting us at some parties, like family gathering together, and the first question they were asking, "Are you still silver?" Yeah, we still survive. It was like very rude, but you can imagine like how people were like percepting us
Yes.
immigrants who came without money, without anything, with no future because they decided we have no future.
We don't have a future. I know. And for
Yes,
me, I was told too as a child, you'll never go to college. You'll be a secretary. I was told I'd be a secretary. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a secretary. I know I don't want to be a secretary. Nothing wrong with secretaries, but I didn't want that. I wanted something else, and I wanted to go to school. And I did everything I could to get there. I worked all kinds of odd jobs, but that's fine.
that's
I
fine.
graduated. I did it. I was the only one in my whole family that got degrees.
My
And I love it.
my first job in Canada, my first job was selling donuts at gas station in little cafe, especially at night shift because I had to take care of my kids and it wasn't easy. And
Mhm.
I remember the very dark window because it's night outside. And I was looking at the window. I said, it's just temporary. I just have to bring money and food to my children. That's why it's just temporary. And one day I wake up and there was no window, like dark black window, because it's gone. And this is what happened. But when people say, oh, how could you be like that? Like, how could you become a seller, like selling coffee and donuts? I said, if you have children, if you have no money and you have to think how you provide food and shelter, then you do everything. Put
Absolutely.
in your pride and put in everything behind because you need to survive. But step by step, you will be gifted by other resources, by other opportunities, because this is who you are. You're resilient. You kind of like ready to overstep any obstacles and achieve what you were planning to achieve. And this is like I said, next chapter without this black window, and this has happened. And next
That's
chapter,
right.
this, and this is like who we are and should be. And people also should see resources in yourself and never be afraid of something they don't like that came out
Mhm.
like unexpectedly, because it's life. Life is continue until we will leave. Life is continuing.
It sure is. It sure is.
Our time is coming to the end. Marilyn, thank you very much for this interesting conversation. If you want to say something, please say, because I know you have a lot of tips. And everybody who wants to know more about my guest, please scroll down the video. It's information about the video. There's a wonderful website uh, Marilyn created. Marilyn created. So please subscribe to the channel, and I leave a few minutes for you just to tell some tips or mention some tips, whatever you like to say to our viewers at the end of our podcast.
Thank you, Olena. I appreciate this so much. Just, visit my website, positiveperformancecoach.org. There are some good blogs. There's some good information. I have an unstuck package that's going on now till December 31st, the end of this year. If you need help being, becoming more resilient, or life is, you think, treating you horribly and you need help with your career, whatever it might be, I'm here for you. Or if you just want to say hello, no, you don't have to buy anything, just say hi. I'm here to say hello back and wish you well and lots of resilience, and you can do it. That's all I have
Yes,
to say. You
you can
can.
do it. You
We
can
did
do
it.
it.
We did it, and
Yes.
you can too. And we want to champion you on so that you can continue to grow and flourish.
Thank you again, and I'll see you next time, because I'm sure we can find some other interesting topics to discuss online and share with other people, right? So
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye, Olena. Thank you.